Hello and welcome back to the Let's Talk Horse Business podcast with me, George, your host. And today we're going to be speaking with Rhiannon. Rhiannon is an equestrian business specialist. And in this episode, we're going to be looking at marketing, how you should go about improving your marketing, how you can go about getting started in the business, and how not to make the mistakes that many often make. So please sit down and enjoy the show. Rhiannon, lovely to see you. Thank you for joining me on the show. Have you had to come far?
Yeah, so I've travelled down from Leeds, about 2.5 hour drive. It's not too bad.
No.
But thank you for having me. I've been really excited about this since we booked it in.
Oh, no, it's been great. Yeah, because we booked this in a little after London International, wasn't it?
I feel like, we discussed it at London International when we found each other, like soulmates that we are. When we found each other.
Yes.
And then, we kind of procrastinated getting it booked in, but we got it done.
We
and
did.
we actually did it in the same month, so that's pretty cool.
True,
Oh, it's not,
we
that was
did.
December, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
I know what I'm doing.
But no, fantastic. Thank you for joining us. So really, it'd be great just to get an idea about who you are. Let's start with that. So where were you? What brought you to what you're doing now?
Yeah, big questions. So I'm Rhiannon, the equestrian business specialist, and I don't know, I've always had the desire to be a business owner since I was a child.
Mm-hmm.
I remember strictly telling my dad off when I was 7 years old because he makes this amazing piccalilli relish, and everybody who's ever tried it has been like, this is amazing. And he would just go, oh yeah, here's the recipe. And 7-year-old me was mortified. And I was like, why are you not selling it? Like, telling him he needs to start a business, and he was like, oh, but it's too expensive and all of this. So like, I think from a young age, I've just always been destined to be employed. And then I've always said as well that I'm really rubbish at being employed because I will find an efficient way to do things and I will want things doing that way. And sometimes when you work for somebody else, they don't want things doing that way. And it can be quite frustrating. And then as I progressed through my career, people and my employers found out that I am good at solving problems and I am good at driving customer outcomes. So I progressed through roles and then naturally just fell into consultancy because it felt like the right thing to do. And I remember I used to manage strip clubs. I met a business consultant when I was there and I was like, that's what I want to do.
Really?
That is what I want to do.
Club. Nice. Okay. Were they consulting for that business or was it someone you met just?
Yeah, so I was managing the strip clubs. I was managing like a chain of strip clubs and I met the business consultant. And I loved their business consultant. He was really cool. He had loads of knowledge and he would just come in and problem solve. And I was like, that's the dream. That is what I want to do. Like, I never knew what I wanted to do until I was like 24, 25 years old. And I just kind of like moseyed through life. Like, I don't know where I belong. I don't know where I fit. And I've always had that feeling. I don't know if that's true for anybody else who's just felt like didn't quite fit in school. You've always been a bit of a weirdo, a bit of an outsider, didn't quite fit in employed roles. I was always either the overachiever or somebody who really wasn't interested. As well, being neurodivergent, if I'm not interested in something, I'm not going to drive too hard into it.
Yeah.
So I've always felt like I didn't quite fit. And then when I found that, I was like, that's my thing. Like, that's my area of expertise. Like, that's my spice. And just kind of dove into it.
Love it. I love that. I think I resonate with that, the feeling though of not really knowing where your place is in life. And I love that you found that at 20. I would say I'm now 31 and I'm doing some great things that I love, but I still don't necessarily think that I found my thing yet. So I think that's really interesting. And I'm sure many people resonate with that when, especially in your younger years, you don't really know what you want to do.
Absolutely. And that was the thing. Like, I always knew that I loved horses. I always wanted to be somewhere in the equine industry, but I've worked on yards. I've done the whole minimum wage. I've done the whole staying in leaky caravans things. I've done traveling with show horses. And I was like, it's good, but that's not a career.
Mm-hmm.
And it is for many people, and that's absolutely fine. But for me, I just always wanted a little bit more from life. Like, I was like, I'm not going to get the house that I want and the life goals that I want by working as a groom.
Yeah.
Realistically. So I knew that I wanted to be in the equine career. And then I think like a lot of people, I stepped away from the horsey world thinking like there's no money in the industry. So I'm never gonna earn my living in this industry, and kind of stepped away from it. So to find business consultancy and then realize that that's an industry that really needs it was groundbreaking for me. And then I found within that my own zone of genius in like the marketing, the sales psychology, as somebody who loves science and like neurology. This was something that I just literally fell into. So Yeah, I love it. I found my zone of genius and
I
couldn't
love
be
it.
happier.
I love it. I love it. I think I found when I started getting involved with horses that I found that was my thing. I loved that. But I also had all those negative people in the background saying, you can't make money at it, get a good job first. I ended up going to university and doing all these other things, which are all great in themselves. But I totally resonate with that. There's so much negative talk out there about the equestrian industry becoming a business. And I wish I hadn't listened to that years ago. So maybe I would be further forward now.
And I think as well, like you're always going to get, when you say I'm going to start a business, there's always going to be people who say, is that a good idea? Are you sure? Maybe you should just stay in the comfort zone. And it's always, I stopped taking life advice from people who've stayed in their comfort zone. And I look at like their bigger picture in life, like, okay, so how old are you and what have you achieved? Like, what was your goal?
Yeah.
Have you achieved it?
Mm.
I no longer take life advice from people who've stayed in their comfort zones.
Yeah.
And it's the people who stepped outside their comfort zones. Like my sister is a massive influence for me. So my sister, she lived in the Cayman Islands and became an international corporate lawyer. And at the heart of it, we are just girls from a council estate in Leeds who've gone out and make things happen. And my sister is one of my biggest influences in life because she always said, I'm going to be a lawyer. And ever since she was a small girl, she was going to be a lawyer. And she went through high school, she focused on law, she went to college, she studied law, she went to university, she studied law. And she worked at like some companies in Leeds and then went on holiday to the Cayman Islands, ended up applying for a job while she was over there, got a job, amazing work, and then landed herself earning most people's annual salaries in a month. And it wasn't by luck or by chance that happened, it was by sheer determination to make it work.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, I'm actually learning so much about you because I think my story is not all that dissimilar. It's actually really interesting. I started on a council estate. Don't get me wrong. We had a very good life. Parents had looked after us, but we also started from then. But I was so determined that I was going to be in business. And, I've been through many businesses. I've been through publican to now being the equestrian horse transport business. But it's having the determination of what you want at the end of it and just driving for it. And that's essentially what you're saying that you've both done.
Yeah, and it's not an accident. And I genuinely get like riled up slightly when people say, oh, you're really lucky. I'm like, no, I'm not.
Lucky is not a term I like either.
I didn't manifest any of this. It's not by luck and it's not by accident that I fell into what I'm doing. It was by a lot of strategic action that, like when I started my businesses, we were chatting earlier over lunch actually. I started my business with £17,000 worth of debt. It's not an accident that I cleared that debt within 10 months. It's not an accident that I earned more than my old annual salary in my first year of business. It was by strategic action. And I think once you know what you want and you have the confidence to achieve it, that's when you can take the action.
And there in itself is a mic drop. Absolutely. And I hope people have heard that. Have what you want, have the vision, take the action. I think that's what it's all about in business. So no, that's awesome. So you've been on this incredible journey and we know where you started out, but what got you into doing your business consultancy now? So you obviously had a period where you weren't doing this, you were working within other organizations. So what got you to here? What have you done?
So I decided this was what I wanted to do. And then I was like, okay, so I'm good at solving problems within businesses and I have that business knowledge of how an organization should run, how to make it run smoothly, how to make the customer experience better and make sure the customer journey is smooth. But the actual business knowledge, not so much. So for me, that did involve like the traditional route. And I know loads of people say you don't need to go to university these days. And that's absolutely fine. If you want to learn outside of university, go for it. For me, I love studying, I love learning, and I enjoy the qualification. It feels quite rewarding to have a qualification. So I went into business management and I'm now gone on to do a master's in like consumer purchasing decisions really and the psychology behind what drives these purchasing decisions, which is what I'm doing, as well as doing a degree in accounting as well, which is 100% not for me, but I was like, lean into areas that you're not good at. Okay. So I looked at the areas I am good at in business and I was like, okay, so I'm clearly good at the marketing side, but I'm not good at the accounting. So let's patch that up. Let's learn something about that.
Wow.
So for me, the main point was if you want to earn more, you have to learn more. Mm-hmm. And that was the foundation. And that is the philosophy that I still build businesses on today. And even like I've recently launched Zip It Rug, which is my latest business venture. I knew nothing about retail. Mm-hmm. I knew nothing about textiles. So to start a rug company, and people were saying like, oh, so do you want like ripstop fabric? And I was like, what? And they were like, what gram do you want? And I was like, what do you mean, what gram? Like,
Yeah.
and all of these questions, like asking me questions about, how waterproof something is. And I was like, I don't know what denier means. Please explain this to me. And that was when I was like, okay, so you can't run a company with that lack of knowledge. So I need to learn more about this. And if you can take that approach to life, that you always need to be learning something new, that's going to help you thrive in business.
Yeah.
The next foundation, I think, for me was always market research. And this is something I stress to people all the time. If you want to go into a company, you want to start a company, you've got a business idea. I think a lot of people have a business idea. At least 90% of people say, I have something and it could be a business. I'm thinking of starting a business. And in some ways, I'm like, yes, I'm really excited for you. And in some ways, it makes me want to roll my eyes to the back of my head because I've got a business idea. And I'm like, okay, expand on it. Get your pen and paper out, get your iPad out, get your laptop out, whatever it is that helps you, and map it out. Where is that business going to make money? Who is it going to sell to? What's the demographics like? And I mean a lot more than how old they are, what gender they are, and their location. Like, what is their misbeliefs that they have in life? What problems do they have? What are you solving? What are the benefits of it? Are they likely to buy from you? Going really, really deep into it. That's going to be in your market research. The customer journey has to be part of your market research. So where do they start? How do they first come into contact with your business all the way through till after the purchase? What's that customer journey like? What's that experience with dealing with your company? What is your competitors like? I know a lot of business consultants at the moment are like, stand in your own light. Ignore your competitors. Doesn't matter. Just be you. You can't just ignore competitors. Competitors are a really big thing, especially if you're going into equine clothing.
Oh.
How are you going to stack up against Lemire? How are
Yeah.
you going to stack up against the other heavy hitting brands at the moment? What's going to make your leggings and your base layers different? There's only so many ways you can do it. So what is your company going to do differently? It could be the branding, it could be the messaging, it could be the tone of voice that your company has. So actually looking around and analysing it. There is room for everybody, but we have to differentiate. So that, I would say, was a massive thing for me in sort of starting that business journey and in all of my companies that I've launched.
Yeah. I like the fact you brought up clothing because where we met met in person at London International, there's so many clothing brands. So many people that have started up a clothing brand because it's like a side hustle. They're trying to earn a bit more money to look after their horses.
Because they've seen it work for other people.
Yeah.
But I think realistically, I'm going to be quite cruel here. So if you're doing an equine clothing brand and you get offended by this, slightly good, but slightly take it to heart and slightly learn from it. If I was to walk around London International and I covered up all the brand, all the logos, and all you could see was the products on the shelves, would you know which brand is which?
Right.
Would you, realistically?
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't be able to tell apart a lot of the brands.
No, I agree.
That's a problem.
That is a problem. And that's where the messaging, the correct marketing, what is your differentiation point is key. Because, now you said that and I'm thinking about walking around, because I've walked around London a lot over that week. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
How do you know why they're different?
And that is a main thing for a business for me. If I could take away your branding, take away your logos, would you still recognize the brand? Would people still recognize me if you took away my logos, my pink branding? It used to be green, it's now pink. If you took away my logo and took away my branding, you would still know it's me compared to other consultants in my industry because I'm very direct, I'm very forward, I say it how it is. And my personal brand has become so intertwined with my brand that they're a self-fulfilling prophecy. I expand my personal brand, it expands my brand.
Yeah.
And vice versa. They feed into each other.
Mm.
And when you have that, it becomes a lot easier to stand out. Now, with a clothing brand, that is harder, but you can give a company a personality.
Yes.
Adidas has a personality. Nike has a personality. When we think about brands like this, they stand out for a reason.
Mm. I think that's a really, really valuable point. So I hope people that are listening take it on board because, and it even goes, clothing brand is one example, but again, it's the same. If you've got various livery businesses, if you've got a saddlery, saddles, yes, you can probably change how they look and feel a bit more than perhaps the clothing. Probably a little bit more scope in that, but it's the same. It's the same thing across the board, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and you can give a company a purpose. You can give it a mission. You can give it a reason, a drive, and you can develop a whole personality. It's not just I have a green brand or I have a blue brand and I have a logo. Give the brand a voice.
Yeah.
What's important to it. And if we look at any successful, thriving company, they have a mission. They have a massive tone of voice. And it's the ones that are doing things unprofessionally that I would say stand out the most.
Okay. Expand on that.
Okay, so try and think of pretty much any successful brand that is going at the moment.
Mhm.
Apple do things quite differently to other brands. They're a world away from Microsoft. They take things less seriously. They have a very, very different style, and they're extremely innovative in things that they do. And I know that a lot of people here who have Androids will be saying, no, they're not. Like, they take other things and they release features later. Okay, but go look at like the Apple Store compared to Curry's PC World. It's a different world. It's a different customer experience. The way that staff speak to you, then they're trained not to hard sell to you.
Mm.
They do things differently. They break the norms. They don't do things quote unquote professionally. They don't have sales staff who come over. They actually build a relationship with you. They let you try products, all of these different things.
Mm.
When we look at other brands who are big disruptors in their industry, Huel's a massive one. Huel does things totally differently. They sponsor people like Hardest Geezer, and he is massively inspirational. Is he, I don't know what's the right word for him. Like, is he professional? Is he, no, he's not. He's rough around the edges.
Yeah.
And they've built like a brand off of being untraditional and unconventional, because human beings are, we're not all strictly uniform. So trying to have a business that's strictly uniform doesn't work. It doesn't resonate. It doesn't connect with people.
Yeah.
And it's easy to be forgotten. So I want you to think about the last 2 weeks. Tell me, think of the advert that stood out to you, like a piece of marketing that stood out for you. It could be something you've seen on a bus stop. It could be something you've seen on social media. It could be a poster that you've seen. And if you're struggling with that, that's exactly my point. That is exactly my point.
Yes.
Things don't stand out. Things aren't sticking out in your brain, and things aren't memorable. So when we do things outside of the ordinary, we become memorable.
Yes. Yes. Okay. That makes good sense. And actually that sort of ties in with, so I've been thinking a lot today about the equestrian industry versus other industries, but also how the industry space is changing, globally, how things are moving forward for us as humans. And it was also part of something I listened to this morning, which was Daniel Priestley, when he said about the fact that the school system educates us for what has been a bit of an industrial era, but now we're sort of heading towards a digital era. And so,
and the equestrian industry's dragging on. It doesn't want it. It doesn't want to move
it
to it.
doesn't want it. No,
they don't want it.
But I just thinking about that, because what you're basically saying there, and I don't want to simplify it too much, but it's about the personal brand. It's about having your own personality and using that and your mission in life to build the businesses, which sort of ties better in with the digital era of people, do you not think?
Absolutely. Look at the brands that are thriving at the moment in the equine industry. We have Lemire, which is founded by Robert and Lisa Lemire. Strong people, strong professional brands. We look at Blackheart Equestrian. We have Erin Williams. She has millions of followers. She's built a brand of being a girl's girl, being friendly, being supportive. Very similar for Jordan McCabe, who owns Aztec Diamond. She's built a personal brand. The company has thrived off the back of it. Anything that's doing well will have somebody who is an influential figure. We think about like Stephen Bartlett's companies. We talk about Huel, who's one of the main drivers of Huel. Stephen Bartlett, a very influential figure with a very strong personal brand.
Yes.
So you're absolutely right. Having a personal brand, and even if you don't want to be in the limelight, you don't want a personal brand, you can still build a brand that has a personality.
Yes.
Without having a face to it. It can have a personality, it can have a tone of voice, and it can be playful, it can be serious, it can be joking, it can not take things serious. You can have so many things, and it's just finding out what works for you and what you want it to be. But just going into business saying, I'm going to start a clothing brand, or I'm going to train as an equine sports massage therapist, is simply not enough. There has to be more to it, or I'm going to offer livery services. Okay, but what's different?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Okay, so take all of that, and then we've got somebody who is just about to open a livery. They've just bought themselves some stables, or they're renting some stables because they want to be in the livery, because they've got their own horses and they just need somewhere for those horses, and they're going to have some liveries on the side. Like, what do we say to those people about building this business? Because firstly, do we question if they're doing it for the right reasons, but also do we say, well, actually, you need to start with a message. Forget the livery business, start with a message first? Or do you just go for the livery because it's what you want to do?
So I can't really advise on that. So I'm going to have to speak to a hypothetical livery yard startup. And this excites me because I just wrote a fully comprehensive business plan for a livery yard. Like someone's going in for an application. One of my clients wanted to apply for a livery yard. They needed cash flow forecast and a business plan. And they were like, Rhiannon, will you just write that for me? Of course I will. This is what I do for a career. So I said to her, I was like, you are an equine physio. So what we're going to do is we're going to build a livery yard around your speciality knowledge. Now, you might not be an equine physio. So maybe let's say that our hypothetical person isn't. Okay, you will still have a focus. Maybe it's showing, maybe it's dressage, maybe it's show jumping, maybe it's retirement. There will be something that you are interested in. So that's going to be your area of focus, your area of expertise. And it could be maybe that you have loads of native ponies who suffered with laminitis. So you create an environment that is perfect for rehabbing laminitic ponies. So you're going to create a specialist service that's different. Even if you can't offer something different, let's say you do want to just be a generalist. Okay, what's something that's going to stand out? Maybe you offer an all-inclusive livery package. It's not just full livery. Everything's included. You'll even pay for the farrier. You'll pay for the bodywork sessions. We're going for a really top-end package, and that's included in one monthly subscription price that you pay to a livery yard owner. No one else is doing that. Absolutely nobody else is doing that. It's something totally different that you can offer that separates you from the rest. There is money in this industry if you know how to position it and add value to it.
That's what I was going to say. So it's not, we don't have to recreate the wheel, but we just have to add value and innovate maybe slightly on something which already exists.
100%. And I know that the biggest thing that people say is, oh, well, nobody will pay that. You might not pay that. Personally, I wouldn't buy a Porsche. Don't like them. There are other people in the world who will fork out their entire life savings for one. I wouldn't want one.
Yeah.
Like, I love an old school modified car. There are people out there who look at the car and go, oh no, that's a chav car. I wouldn't want that. And I'm like, I'd give you my life savings for it. I think it's amazing. Yeah. Everything is worth what its purchaser will pay for it. And that was said by Publilius Sirius in the 1st century. So this is a very, very old saying. How can you solve a problem for somebody? Because when we stop saying, I do this, and we say, I solve this problem, you've just positioned yourself as high value. So when we talk about full livery, people say, oh, well, people don't want to pay full livery. So it's up to you to build that picture and be like, okay, put your dog in a kennel for a month. And I think you spoke about this on a recent podcast.
Yes, I did.
Put your dog in a kennel for a month and let me know how much that cost. Way more than a month's full livery for a horse. So that can be your brand message. And you can say that as your business. You can say, the reason that my full livery is expensive is because I'm looking after a horse, which is a luxury animal. And you wouldn't expect a dog kennel or a cattery to charge you less than this. So why would you expect me to charge you less than this? I'm offering you space for a luxury pet, not just any pet. And it's expensive. And if you want people to understand things, you have to explain it to them. We can't just expect people to understand the operational costs of a livery yard if they've never owned a livery yard. Stop expecting people to know things, fill their knowledge gaps. And this is why I say we have to educate people. We make them aware of problems. Now, for me, I love full livery, and it's an experience that I've only had since April this year. It has saved me so much time, and time is money in my industry. I offer consultancy on an hourly rate, and it's not a cheap hourly rate. So if I can save 3 hours of my time, that is worth more than a month's full livery. It's a no-brainer. So when we start positioning things as you'll no longer have to get out of bed at 4:30 in the morning to come muck your horse out and turn them out, and you're not going to have to rush down after work in the cold rain, that adds more value than saying I sell full livery at £700 a month.
So, yeah. Do you know what? Actually, just putting it so plainly like that, it's a no-brainer.
It is, isn't it? And these are the things that people leave out their marketing. They say, I've got a lovely floodlit arena. I've got off-road hacking. I've got these stables. I've got this grazing. We have individual turnout pens. We have X, Y, and Z. I don't care. I don't care.
Yeah.
You're not solving a problem for me. I think that's lovely. And I'm really glad that you've got those features, but you're not telling me how that benefits me. You say that you've got a riding instructor on site. Okay. You've got a riding instructor who specializes in confidence and helps riders who are wanting to come back into riding after pregnancy and feel like they're not as confident as they were in their teenage years. That's more valuable than we've got a BHS accredited riding instructor. Tell me the benefits. I don't care about the features. I want to know the benefits and how it's going to add value to my life.
Absolutely. I think that, That is a bit of a nugget for anyone watching this, I think, because we spent so much time, the past few episodes have actually all been about liveries. And that's a really great specific example about something that livery yards should be doing or considering. And actually that also ties into doing their research, because depending on the demographic of the yard, where it is, you're going to be potentially attracting very different people. So you need to start there first, don't you? Really, with it. You need to sort of work out who is your ideal client. Do you agree?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Because this is how you also... So I have moved through several livery yards, and I've met several livery yard owners, and obviously been in the equine industry since I was a toddler. I've met all kinds of people from all different walks of life. And I would be lying if I hadn't said that this is going to happen. You've been on a livery yard. There's that bitch.
Yeah.
There's that person that you just want nothing to do with. And you're like, you see them and you're like, they make your blood boil. That's the same for livery yard owners. There will be someone who comes on their yard and they're like, oh, if I had a reason to get rid of you.
Yeah.
So let's start from the beginning. Why not just fill your yard, fill your facility with people who you actually like, not people who think, oh, I'm going to pop outside and have my coffee in the garden. No, I'm not, because I've just seen Sandra come up the drive. Why not start from the beginning and just say, right, actually, I want people who are, let's go for an example. So I like dressage. So I want to fill my yard with people who are also interested in dressage. I want to fill it with people who are over the age of 21, because I don't want teenagers running around the place with their opinions. I want to fill it with people who stay in their own lane. They're not going over and they're not telling Kelly that she should have her horse in this bit and that she should be doing X, Y, and Z. So I don't want nosy parkers. I want people who are supportive, people who are kind, and I want people who pay their bills on time. So in order for me to get that, I'm also going to request a reference from your last livery yard. And if you can't provide me with one because you left on bad terms, you're not coming to my yard. Nope, not today. And it's when we can do that, we also make our life easier, because we put a lot of obligation on what we do for the people in our business, but not a lot of obligation on what they should be doing for us as a business owner, like turning up on time, sorting their horse by an appropriate time, not leaving it in the field waiting for someone else to bring it in, paying their bills on time, not using more hay than they should be doing. Those are their obligations to us. Think about them and put the boundaries into place. And that's going to make life so much better. And like you say, once you've decided who you want to work with, you can then get inside those demographics and be like, okay, so if I've got a 20-something wannabe dressage rider, 20-something, early 30s dressage rider who wants to focus on getting out, competing, maybe going into affiliation, what are the problems within that they are going to have that I can help with and position myself as a solution to that problem? And then you will start attracting those type of people into your business. And you're not going to have the people who are keeping their horse on a budget and can't afford to pay you every month, and they're giving you excuses after excuses, because you're focusing on a certain type of people. And then the next thing that people always say off the back of that is, but aren't I cutting my audience in half? I'm messaging at one person, so I'm now losing income. No, you're not. You're increasing your income because you stopped being generic. So the people who it applies to are naturally drawn to you and say, oh yes, this is amazing. It's perfect for me. I want to pay a premium service for this because it's built for me. It feels custom. It feels tailor-made.
Yeah.
We're not marketing to everybody. And that's where we lose money, because when we're being too general, that's when we get no customers. Boring doesn't appeal to anybody. Generic doesn't appeal to anybody.
I want to move on, though, to somebody who wants to set up their own equestrian business. We sort of touched on it already, but where should they go? So someone's come up to you and they've said, I'm sick of working in a livery yard. I want to start my own equestrian business. I'd like it to be an online tack shop. Where should they really be starting? Because I see it time and time again, I'm sure you do, where they just go out there, do it without thinking about the messaging, do it without thinking about the demographic. They're just like, I need to do something else. So I'm just going to buy all this stock. I like this stuff. I'm just going to pop it on here and I'm going to work it out later. Where should they really be starting so they don't make the mistakes which other people are making?
Look at other businesses and ask yourself one question. So the question that people don't ask themselves and that you don't want to ask yourself when you start business.
Okay.
You always want to say, oh, it'll work because of X, Y, and Z, and it'll work because I've done this, this, and this. So the first question, before we do a business plan, before we do market research, I want you to get a piece of paper and you're going to write a big line down the middle. And you're going to write on one side reasons why it will work. And you're going to write on the other side reasons why it won't work. And whichever side wins is the side you go with. So if you come up with 20 reasons, valid reasons, I don't mean like psychological reasons like, oh, I'm not good enough to run a business, because that's just a confidence thing that we can fix. If I mean legitimate things like, there's already a number of online tack stores and I can't compete with them because I'd have to sell the exact same bridle £20 more than them in order to make a profit, then no, we shouldn't be doing it. We shouldn't be going into it. And by asking yourself a question, it's okay to have a business that fails. I have loads of ideas I've implemented into my business. I've launched products, I've launched services that I thought would be really good, and they've flopped. It's okay. Not every idea we have is going to be a good one. So if we think, right, I do want to do something, just sit down and strategically say, coldly, why will it fail? And if you're struggling to do that because you're too involved with it, get somebody who doesn't really understand your business to say, like, right, this is my idea. Why is it a bad idea? And people love to give you negative opinions. So trust me, there won't be a shortage of them. So that's always a great question.
Yeah.
And then what we can do from that list is, if we still think it's viable, is we go through that list. So let's say it's because there's a lot of online competition. We want to start an online tack show. Okay, cool. We've got a lot of online competition. What can you do to mitigate that potential failure? What can you do to offset the chances of that taking your business under? And that's a really good place to start. And what we should also do is build that into the business plan. Because if we are pitching this idea, regardless of whether you're pitching an idea, looking for investment, capital, whatever, even if you're not, we should still have a business plan, because that is your blueprint to success, if you will. And in fact, I think Harvard University said that you are literally like 3 times more likely to succeed if you have your plan actually written down. Write the plan down.
Write the plan.
But yeah, go through it. Look at all the reasons it could fail and what you can do to mitigate it. So I recently launched Zip It Rug. What's one of the main reasons that it could fail? If someone copies it, I'll be brutal. If someone copies it, that could drive me out, especially if one of the heavy hitters copied it. That could drive me out of industry. So what do I need to do to mitigate that? I need to build the personal brand. I need to get it in front of people. And I need people to understand that I am the original creator of it, that it is my unique idea and it is my creation, and that we created the first one, because it's never been seen before. It's never been done before in the industry. So I need to drive that in on the marketing, and that's how we'd mitigate that risk. So I think that is definitely one of the first places to start. Another place is look at competitors and see what are they doing, what's working. You can kind of reverse engineer their strategies. Now, I'm really going to stress this. Don't copy them. But there is nothing wrong with looking and going, right, okay, so this is working. They have quite a lot of success with promoting things on TikTok and using an influencer program. So I am going to develop an influencer program. They have a lot of success out of a referral scheme. I'm going to develop a referral scheme. We're not going to copy it. We're not going to use the same things. We're not going to do the same TikTok dances. We're not going to create the same content. But we are going to take the core of the strategy and utilize it to our advantage with our own twist.
And match it with your own personality.
With your own personality, with your own branding. How many people have a referral scheme? Every gym on the planet. Do we accuse them of copying each other? Absolutely not.
No, absolutely. I mean, copying, because you mentioned it there, is a form of flattery. However, it needs to resonate with you as a person. So if you're just copying someone outright, no individual is the same. So it's not going to resonate with your audience authentically for you.
Yeah, you lose your flavour.
Yeah.
You lose that. You can copy the words, you can copy the pictures, you can't copy the vibe.
No.
Nobody can copy my consultancy because I have a very blunt personality. I'm so direct, I'm so forward. I have a very dry sense of humour. It would be you can't be me because I'm me. No. You have to be you.
No.
So lean into it. There are so many cool things that you will have about you if you can lean into your own personality and find out what parts you can utilise, maybe what parts need to be toned down a little bit. What can you do to commercialise your personality? It doesn't mean like selling yourself out, but how can you be the best, most presentable version of yourself?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then that's how you build your brand. That's how you build your online presence. That's how you build your clientele, because people resonate with you, your message and your mission.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. I want to go back to just touch on mindset a little bit, because there's so much that we can tell, and we have told a lot of people about on here about what they can do to get started, where they should think from. But just take it right back to, a teenager or even an old, a 30s, 40s, 50-year-old person, but they want to get started in this new thing. But they're doubting themselves. They have no confidence. They don't know what I can't do this. Of course they can, but What would you advise them if someone came to you with those problems?
So I always say confidence is one of the main things that stops you from taking action, because we have to take action if we want to go anywhere. And the analogy that I love, it's not my analogy, and I am going to quote the lady who does it. So she's called Lucy, and I can't remember her last name. I'll have to look it up. Lucy Cook, that's the one. And she has this amazing analogy, and I love it, and I've utilized it since then. And she said, if I told you right now, I would give you a large cash lump sum of money if you can run 100 meters in 30 seconds, what would you do? You just run. You would just run, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So now what if she says, I'll give you £2 million if you can run 100 meters in 10 seconds?
Bloody run.
Well, maybe, but I know a lot of people might think 10 seconds. That's Usain Bolt territory. Okay. I don't know if I can outrun Usain Bolt.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not sure if I can do it. And they hesitate, and they would waste time that they could be running because they were doubting themselves.
Of course.
Rather than actually doing it. And it's one of the main things that sort of holds you back. And confidence is one of the things that stops you from taking action. So I think it's getting to the bottom of it. Like, where have these beliefs come from? We get a lot of them from childhood. We get a lot of them from being told, oh, that won't work. So a lot of these beliefs aren't actually ours, and that we've internalized them. And I know there's loads in the equine industry. There's no money in horses was one that I believed for a long time until I actually stepped into this industry, and now I have an hourly rate that was more than a week's wage. I thought there was no money in the equine industry either. So where have these beliefs come from? Why do we believe them? And are they true? Your brain's really good at keeping you in a safe zone because it's its job to protect you as a human being. And your brain will always like to tell you why things won't work, why you can't do something. But when you actually challenge it and you say, do you know what, we're not stood on the edge of a cliff here. It's not dangerous for me to do the thing. You're not actually helping me here. You're holding me back. You will be able to achieve so much more. So it's understanding that your brain has this whole protective system and why it's going to tell you it can't work. But to increase confidence as well, we have to take action. We can do the mindset work, and we can do the journaling, and we can do all the prompting, which I'm a big fan of. I like to write down my worries. I like to write letters to myself when I think that I'm doing really badly in life. And when I need a pickup boost, I like to write down all my worries. I think that's great. But the main reason that I'm now good at public speaking is because I got on a stage and I started speaking in front of people. And no practicing, no watching YouTube, no psyching yourself up can get yourself ready for that. You just have to go on, and you have to be rubbish at it for the first time. When I first started out in business consultancy, I wasn't great at, I'm not saying that I'm going to make, badly advising people, but I worked with some of the wrong clients. I had the wrong people on my books. I would drastically undercharge my services because I was scared that they wouldn't see the value of them. And I haven't really changed the core strategy of what I advise people. I'm still giving the same advice. I just now have more confidence in it. So do it anyway is my best advice. Yeah. It's okay to be bad at something once or twice. We'll get better at it. We can refine as we go along.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that's something I see people experience all the time. And it's that saying which I got from a book from Rob Moore, who is more of a property mogul and a bit of a disruptor in the money space. But he says, start now and get perfect later. But also, if you don't risk anything, you risk everything because you're not growing. So, yeah.
Have confidence in yourself. So I have a welding company. I can't weld. I don't know anything about welding. I'm a director of a welding company. And I thought, do you know what? I can leave the technicalities and I know you love it when I say this, the sticking metal together. I can leave that to somebody else. But what I can do is grow and scale a business. What I can do is market. What I can do is lay foundations. And what I can do is set business principles. And now, if I listen to myself and I listen to my internal beliefs, they would say, you don't know anything about welding. Who are you to start a welding industry, move into the welding industry?
Yeah.
And what I do know is I can look at what other companies are doing and I can see why they're not working and why they're not making money.
Yeah.
And I can add a fun twist to marketing that you just don't see in the welding industry.
Yeah.
So I know where I can innovate and improve on it. So I think it's just sometimes, even if you think, I am so far out of my depth here, it's just been able to go, okay, but I'm cool and I'm going to do it anyway.
Yes. I like that. Just sort of accepting it is fine, but let's just do it anyway. Give it a go. If you don't know, and also if you don't give it a go,
you don't need all the
know.
answers.
Yeah.
When Richard Branson started selling records in school, did he know everything that he knows today? No.
Exactly. Yeah.
When Musk started his first business, did he know everything that he knows today?
No.
Probably not.
He just had a very good mission and a very good vision of where he wanted to go.
Yeah, but like this is the thing, like if we think about all the top influential business figures, we might not agree with their political beliefs and some of the things that they say and the actions that they do. But when we look at how they've behaved and how they've got to where they are, it's because they took action. It's because even when you don't believe in yourself, you don't have to have 100% confidence in something. You don't have to have 100% confidence in yourself. Like even coming into a podcast today, I was like, oh, is my hair going to look okay? Am I going to fall over my words? Am I going to make a fool of myself? You don't have to believe in yourself 100%. I don't believe in myself 100% any day. Like I think that's ridiculous. You're always going to have some part of you that doubts you. You're a human being.
Yes.
If we can at least get it over the 50% mark, we're in a good place.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then you do it and you add a bit more to that confidence. You do it again.
You do.
You add a bit more confidence.
And there will be hits along the way. There are times that I wake up and I think, I don't know, like, it's like, I don't know, you could be waking up in bed and the different version of me, like the critical version of me just comes and wakes me up and I'm like, you're really bad at marketing, by the way. You don't know what you're talking about. What? What do you mean? Doing a master's in it, what do you mean? It's like, yeah, but you're still not good at it. Anybody could do what you do. You're always going to have those kind of days. So on those days, it's just been able to be like, that's anxiety. And I know that how we deal with this is by taking pressure off. I know that we're going to deal with that by reconfirming what's true. We're going to look at that by saying, well, look at the results that I've driven. Look at the results I've driven for myself and my clients. And we're going to counterbalance it. But there are always going to be days where you go, you're bad at riding a horse. You're a terrible rider. You should just quit. I have those days. You have those days. I can almost promise you that people like Carl Hester will have those days. It's just about powering on through it.
And that is a very powerful message. I want to just finish touching on livery yards. Now, I know we've spoken about it already, but it is a bit of a hot topic for the podcast at the moment because it's so much.
Hot topic in the UK.
Well, in the UK,
like,
yes.
I think
yes.
like every group that I'm in, there is always something on Facebook. Like, and it's almost like they copy and paste from each other. And they're like, I run a livery yard and I have these facilities and I have this much, but I can't seem to make a profit.
Massive.
So they're massive. I love the livery yard topic. Talk about it more.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just want to finish on it and say, in fact, I'd be interested for you to say what you think a livery yard owner that has posted that exact message on Facebook. So they've posted on there because they're running a livery yard. They've got 10 horses. They can't keep their staff. They're barely making any money. They're having to work extra jobs to make it pay because they can't put the prices up. There's just so much involved in this. But what would you advise? Then where should they start?
Okay, so first I want to identify what's actually the problem. How much have you told yourself is a problem that's not actually a problem? And I want you to step away and come out of it and see the trees because we're in the thick of the woods and we can't see them at the moment. So I want you to just lay it all on the table in front of me. And I would say book a free consultation with me as well. Like if that is you and that is ringing true, book a free consultation with me where I will literally lay your business on the table and be like, right, okay, so this is actually a problem. Your problem's a marketing problem or your problem is a client acquisition problem. It could be anywhere. Mm-hmm. Without looking at the specifics, I can't say exactly. So let's go for general terms. Let's say it's a pricing problem. Okay, why do you have a pricing problem? And they say, well, because the other livery yard 5 minutes down the road away charges £500 a month for full livery, but I can't make profit charging that. And I say, good for them. What does that have to do with you? And they say, well, that's the average rate. And I say, okay. So if Prada said that they can't sell their £7,000 handbag because Shein is selling handbags for £20, you'd laugh. So we need to look at this and we need to say, right, I want you to ignore the other livery yards for now. So market research is important and looking at competitors is important, but for now we're just going to park it. What they're doing is more important than what they're charging. Mm-hmm. And what we're going to do is we're going to say, right, what are your expenses? What do you need to charge? Because the cost that the 50-year-old yard owner who paid off her mortgage 20 years ago and hasn't upgraded her school, hasn't really upgraded her facilities, she has no real overhead cost to pay for. But whereas if you're 20, 30 something and you've just taken out a £2 million mortgage that you're paying off at an eye-watering amount a month, your prices are going to have to be high, babe. So let's look at what you need to charge. And then they say, oh, well, nobody will pay that. And I say, I can sell you a pen for £3,000. It depends how I position the pen.
Mm-hmm.
If I would you buy a pen off me for £3,000? No. If I tell you that this pen was owned by Queen Elizabeth and its resale value is £10,000, will you buy the pen? Of course you will.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on the value I put on it. So let's actually start with, what do you need to charge? And then how can you justify the value of this? By being transparent and being like, look, the reason that my livery is so expensive is because I've just resurfaced my arena. I've just built an indoor arena. I've had all my grazing done out so that it's got laminitic friendly grass in it, or I've done like hard standing areas. I've done X, Y, and Z. These are the benefits. I have staff who work around the clock. We do midnight checks. We do colic watch so that you don't have to come down and be at the stables if you've got work at 7 a.m. Don't worry, we'll take care of colic watch, and it's all included in your livery price. That adds value to it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just these little things where we're thinking more about the benefits than just listing off your facilities and what you do. Because like I say, I sell full livery at £1,000 a month. It's eye-wateringly expensive, and nobody in their right mind would pay it until you say
Mm-hmm.
you'll get all your farrier cost included.
Yeah.
You'll get routine veterinary bills included. And you think about what you can add into it
Yes.
that actually gives someone some value, they're going to want to pay it. So I think that is the best place to start, is what's actually causing the problem, and then how can we work on it from there.
Brilliant. And would you say that as much as it's about how you market, I suppose it is exactly tied in with the marketing, but do you think appearance and how you're presenting your livery yard in this case makes a big difference as well?
I think it can do. And I think it can be different. So I've been on some livery yards that are ultimate top show. They're stunning. You could walk around them in stilettos and not get dirty feet.
Mm-hmm.
Was the care of the horses adequate? If that's questionable, no. I would rather pay for the stable door that hasn't been painted in a few years over the fancy pants, stables, if the care's not right, or if there's problems going on, if my horse isn't being brought in, if they're not getting fed properly, they're not getting exercise when I've paid for exercise. It's making sure that the benefits are there. But yeah, to an extent, I suppose if you walk onto a stable yard and the stable's leaking and the door's hanging off the hinges and it's really scruffy and there's, rubbish everywhere, and your horse could get a nail stuck in their foot just by walking across the yard, that's going to lower your price. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny thinking about that. It's like, I wouldn't hope to never ever see anything like that, but
I mean, that was an absolute worst case scenario, and if I've just described your yard, please fix it. But yeah, it's thinking about it and thinking about, so are you paying for how pretty the stable is? Because we know that horses are disgusting. If you paint a nice stable wall white, they're going to poo in it.
Yeah.
We know what horses are like.
Yes.
Am I willing to overlook a poo-stained wall because my horse gets around the clock top quality care from someone who genuinely loves horses, treats them like they're their own, and looks after them? Yeah, of course. That's what I currently do. I've left nicer yards because of the environment as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just because I've been in a yard and I've had too many people with their opinions coming to me, telling me what I shouldn't be doing with my pony. And I've left just because of that. I've left really nice yards with massive schools, massive arenas, massive facilities, just to get peace and quiet on a yard with a significantly smaller school.
Yeah.
But the care, the full livery is amazing value.
Yes.
And all of those things. So I suppose it depends, yeah.
I suppose that
Packaging
also
is good, but not everything.
I suppose that also ties in with the personal branding, because those benefits are also going to shine through a particular livery business. It varies from business to business, but they're going to shine through from the person facilitating that livery. So again, that ties in what you said earlier about building your own brand, which then the business comes through.
100%. Yeah. And like, thinking about like top show facilities, I kept my horse at one of the most prestigious colleges in the country, and kept her there on very expensive livery, and their negligence caused colic.
Right.
Do I think that was worth it? Absolutely not. Would I have rather paid for a smaller, maybe scruffier facility where they're making sure that my horse isn't colicking?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's more alarming that they didn't notice that my horse was colicking for several days while she was on full livery.
Yeah. I suppose with that, it's hard to quantify that, isn't it? Because that care happened in that situation, and in a different situation, a different yard, someone would have noticed. But you can't really quantify that. How would you say that in your marketing, for example, just as a devil's advocate? So you say, we give you top quality care around the clock, cameras, CCTV, which always check in. But how do you know that that's really what's coming through?
So I think the way that you would put that through in marketing, it's a difficult one, like you say, like how to quantify it.
Mm.
But what you can do is, because everybody says we provide top quality care. Okay, what does that look like? And it could be small things like we use this app and you will get updates on your horse and your horse will receive 2 daily health checks morning and afternoon, making sure that they're passing droppings, making sure that they've eaten the hay, like they're getting, they're getting actual quality care because that I can check. So my horse had a compaction colic because no one noticed that she hadn't eaten or drunk anything or passed droppings for 3 days, which is diabolical at one of the most prestigious colleges in the country.
Mm.
That just shouldn't be happening.
No.
So for me, that would be a big thing. If someone said we use an app and you can check in on your horse pretty much at any time and you can see how much of their hay they've eaten, whether they've eaten the full net, half a net, or left some, that they've done 3 droppings in their bed. And again, this is helpful.
Mm.
And having stuff like that logged, because if there is a problem, I can say to the horse, oh yeah, she's passed 3 droppings today. So that would be that has quantifiable value. And from that, I can see that you're giving 5-star care.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't have to be an app. Maybe it's a check sheet outside the stable.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a whiteboard outside the stable that says this is what this horse has done today.
Yeah.
That would just back up what you're doing. So rather than saying, I give good care, we have systems in place so that you can see it. We're being transparent about it.
And that's what I was going to add in there. It's about having the right system and the right process for you and for what you're delivering to back up what you sell.
100%. And again, with the customer journey, you can, if you map out the different parts of your customer's journey and experience, you can pluck out the benefits. And this is what we do. We don't sell features, we sell benefits. So what it involves is map out everything from how your customer, your potential livery client, is going to first interact with your business, whether they see it on a social media advert, whether they meet you at a show and talk to you. Then what happens? So they come and they have a tour of the facilities. What happens at the tour of the facilities? At this point, you're going to be making sure that they're a good fit for your business and making sure that you're a good fit for their needs. And if they're not, you're going to say politely, look, I don't think we're a good fit for you because of X, Y, and Z, or we specialize in this area, or I think you'd be better suited. I can recommend this yard for you, but I don't think we're what you're looking for. So that could be where your customer journey ends, and move them through the entire process.
Yeah.
And then from that, you can pluck out the benefits. And the benefits of just doing like that yard tour is that they will know and feel 100% reassured that this is the right place for their horse.
Got you.
Or they'll be directed to someone who's more appropriate. So that's the benefit of it. And we sell benefits that we pluck out from the journey.
Yeah. Great. No, that's been great. Thank you very much. So I'd like to head towards the end of the show by asking you, what is next for you? What are you've got all these great services. You're helping businesses across the equestrian space, clearly, and it's very clear today that you have a great amount of value to add to any equestrian business. So what's next for you? What are you going to be doing in your consultancy that people might want to get involved with? And where are you heading with it all?
So with my consultancy this year, I have expanded into done for you services, which is something that I have never done prior to 2025. And this is because a lot of people have asked me, will you do this for me? So I have now decided to offer like professional business plan writing. So it could be whether you're looking to obtain some capital, apply for a yard like one of my clients has. I can now write your business plan and do your cash flow forecasting and give you a viable business model and do that for you. I can also take on your marketing. I have spaces available from July where I can do not only write your entire marketing plan, but I can execute it for you from Google ads, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, giving you social media content, blogging strategies, etc., and giving you a fully functioning done for you marketing service. I'm also relaunching one of my most popular programs, which is Fully Booked. So for somebody who wants to get better at marketing, wants to learn how to add value, wants to know what they should post on social media to promote their business, wants to know how to actually show the value of what they're doing and bring in more clients, as well as position themselves as a trusted expert, which is something that we've not touched upon too much today. But that's another thing, is having authority and credibility behind you. And that no one comes along and says, right, you're officially an expert, well done. That doesn't happen.
No.
We have to position ourselves as an expert by saying things like, I'm a specialist in this area, I'm an expert in this area. So if that is something that people want to learn how to do, I am relaunching my favorite program, Fully Booked, for equine service providers, which is launching towards the middle of February, which I'm super, super excited about. And then, of course, in my other companies, I have Zip It Rug, which is going to be at National Equine Show. So you can always come chat to me, and I will be doing free business consultations at National Equine Show. If you just want a little pointer in your business, if you just want some advice, if you just want someone to give you a one-off tip or considering working with me, you can meet me at National Equine Show where I'll be running free consultations, or we can do those consultations online as well.
Amazing. And just for anyone that doesn't know, National Equine Show is in Birmingham at the NEC, is that right?
NEC on the 1st and 2nd of March this year.
1st, 2nd, lovely. Hoping to make it along myself. I'd like to come along, actually do some interviews with people, but I'll definitely pop over and say hello.
Yeah, lovely.
No, that's good. Well, thank you ever so much for joining me today. That is bringing us to the end. So, just thank you ever so much for sharing, and hopefully we'll see you on here again soon.
And thank you for having me.